just want to welcome you in today and tell you how much we love you and appreciate you. And we just want you to join in with us right now as we just tell Jesus, as we tell him how much he means to us. Jesus, you're so wonderful. The most amazing name. It's a glorious name. It's a name that impacts hearts. It's a name that impacts lives and families and relationships. It's a name that is above every sickness and every other name. There's no one that can stand against your name. There's nothing that can stand against your name. You're so wonderful.
Yes, Jesus.
Beautiful.
Yes, Jesus.
Magnificent.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
And we love you, Jesus. We love you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you, Jesus. My goodness. You know, last week we talked about growth. And today we want to talk about don't despise the small beginnings. And as we talked about growth last week, sometimes it can be challenging to even find a starting place because we get a small, maybe an idea, and we think it's so insignificant. But today we're going to look and see how don't despise the small beginnings.
And I'm glad you talk about it because, I remember when I first started the church in Malaysia, I was wondering and thinking and praying, okay, how should I attract more new Christians? What should I do to save more soul? And I got this idea, brilliant idea that God gave, an idea of have a soccer competitions between different company and factory. So I start doing it, and I gave out flyers and everything, and I got hundreds of different people come in for these competitions. And you know what? Every Sunday after the soccer competitions, I make them sit down and listen to the gospel. And I did it for 6 weeks of that series. And at the end of that 6 weeks, I got hundreds of people new convert into the church. And that's how I started the church.
Wow. That's amazing because it was such a non-traditional, what you might consider so simple idea, but it had a massive impact and changed so many lives.
Praise the Lord.
And then those lives probably changed even more lives.
Praise the
And
Lord.
so, and this reminds me of the story of Naaman, if you know anything about him, the leper. But there's a little servant girl in that story, and I just have been thinking about this little girl. And she was taken captive, if you don't know anything about her, from Israel. And she was forced to serve Naaman's wife as a servant, taken captive. But she had a little small idea that probably seemed so insignificant.
Yeah.
And she could have thought, who in the world is going to listen to my little idea? But she had the courage. She had the courage to tell Naaman's wife, if only Naaman would go see the man of God Elisha, he could cure him. And wouldn't you know that her little idea that seems so simple and insignificant, she didn't hold it, but she released it. And it had a major, massive impact on Naaman's life. He was healed of his leprosy, but because he was the commander of the army, it must have changed even that nation, the king, the people who all saw this little girl, servant captive girl who had this small idea.
Wow.
Small idea that made this massive change. So today we encourage you that when we look at growth, when you look at growth in an area you are wanting to change, whether it's relational or something in your life, as the Lord gives you those ideas, don't discount them. But we're praying that you would begin to take those ideas and begin to move in them and walk those out and see the massive changes that take place.